Okay, it looks we would have a problem in switching one file to another file, but we will see, we will learn it. Another thing is, yes, last time I forgot to record the meeting and somebody told me through the chat, but I was not able to see the chat box. So if you find that the class
Good
is
morning,
not,
sir.
good morning, if you find that the class is not being recorded, then you should tell me by speaking rather than through a chat box, right?
Right.
Because what happened last time, the moment I opened the meeting, then somebody started asking doubt, so I was busy in the clarifying the doubt instead of recording it. So I will open the recording shortly. And have you got the literature till what I have discussed last time?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so we have another 2 minutes, but so we can wait for 2 minutes. But in the meantime, those who are there, you can share your experience so far. How are you finding the lectures? Are you getting what I'm telling you, or there is some difficulty? About my speed of talking, whatever you want to, you are feeling, right?
Hello, sir.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah.
Sir, lectures are absolutely fine, sir. We are very much understanding it. But I have a doubt, sir. In the last session, you have told.
We will come doubt after 1 minute, because let everybody join, because this doubt may be a common doubt, right?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But what I was asking you people, that if there is any comment about the teaching, you should let me know right now, right? Because only then I can. 8.9. Loudly bolo, bhai.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, I wanted to ask in previous lecture, where should we follow the expressions you derived?
Where would you find the expressions I derived?
Yes, sir.
See, basically, for example, for ray optics, I was following the book, this Introduction to Fiber Optics by Professor Ghatak and Tyagarajan. And then what was the last? Let me see. What was the last lecture about?
TEM waves.
Last lecture was about
TEM waves and
ha. That was the I think the first chapter of this optical electronics by Professor Ghatak and Tyagarajan. So I would be following basically these books only, actually. So unless if I find that I am taking the material from somewhere, some other book, then I will let you know. But let me tell you what I have written here is that is exact by, I mean, each line would not be there, because my teaching experience, due to my teaching experience, I would add somewhere here or there, so that, which I feel that it will explain the things better way, right?
Sir, that's why I couldn't find everything. Okay,
Yeah,
sir.
you will not find verbatim, right?
Yes. Okay, sir.
That is the function of the teacher, actually. Otherwise, there is no need of the teacher.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So with time, I feel that, okay, let me start recording the this meeting. Oh, it is already recording, it looks.
Yes, sir. Recording already started.
Okay, good. So if you find at some time that it is not being recorded, please let me know. Okay, so this file, okay, let me open 37. Okay, so how should I take this out? Okay, share contents. Okay, right. So what are you seeing on your screen now?
So the lecture.
No, sir.
Symmetric planar waveguide?
Right, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
good. So let me see here. This is still there. Okay, so I come to this. So shall we start now? Yeah, let me know your doubt. One of you are having some doubt. Yes.
Yes, sir. I have a doubt that you have derived the ray path for the meridional ray. So,
Right.
how do you derive for the skew rays?
It is difficult actually in this course. That is not inside in the course because it's a very detailed discussion. So earlier people developed ray optics and tried to understand all the characteristics of optical waveguide through ray optics. But as I told you, ray optics does not give exact approach. And those people who have developed ray optics, they also, it is semi ray optics in the sense that they would associate the concept of phase, etc., with the ray and then try to explain. So I would know if you are interested, I can tell you the reference, but there is no need of going through the skew rays. What basically we would be discussing only the wave optics approach, which starts from today for symmetric planar waveguides. Right? Any other doubt or comment, question?
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
Bolo, bolo.
Sir, sometimes can you use, sir, whiteboard also for derivation, sir? Because it's getting hard to follow this notes, sir. Because
Yeah, I
figures are
have
not
tried.
there, so it.
See, I have tried to set up this system, but this has certain problems. Sometimes it is stuck. So I would be using whiteboard rather writing pad only for those expressions which are not on the slides. Because if you feel that I am going fast, I can go slow, no problem. But writing on the pad, that would be very, very time consuming. I have already spent so much time in preparing the notes, and I feel this is a benefit to you because you have these notes with you. Otherwise, in class teaching, you can take notes, but probably in this case, you may not be able to take notes. Am I right?
Yes, sir. But
Yes, sir.
so, sir, can you go a bit slow, sir? Because sometimes we are not getting it, expressions and all that.
Okay. Okay, that I can do, no problem. And
Thank
if
you,
you
sir.
have any problem, so in between you should ask me if you feel that I am going fast or something like that. But sometimes I feel that it is too obvious, but it may be obvious for me, of course, and it may not be obvious for you, right?
Thank you,
So
sir.
are you seeing my face now? Because I am not seeing any window in except the slide.
Yes, sir. You are visible.
Oh. So shall we start?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me see how many students are there, by the way. The total number of students. Okay. Okay, let me see. So, student. Okay, 46 are there, so I think that is fine. And so let me come to this slide. So let me again ask you, you are seeing the slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And
Yes,
my
sir.
lecture is being recorded, it's okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so till now what we have discussed last time. Okay, so I had discussed the solution of Maxwell's equations, homogeneous medium, infinitely extended homogeneous medium. And what this you must have done at earlier stage also, and what we had seen that in infinitely extended medium, the solutions of the wave equation or Maxwell's equations are of TEM type. By TEM, I mean transverse electric and magnetic field configuration. This means both electric and magnetic field are perpendicular to each other as well as perpendicular to the direction of propagation. And if you remember that slide, the field was of the form some amplitude multiplied by exponential I omega t minus beta z. And I hope you are familiar that when omega t and beta z have kz, it was kz there, or of opposite sign, then the wave is propagating in positive z direction. And another thing I would like you to understand that amplitude was constant. The amplitude was constant. That is a manifestation of the fact that your medium has infinitely extended homogeneous medium. So the dielectric constant does not depend on space coordinates. As a result, amplitude does not depend on the space coordinate, right? So today we will start our discussion on optical waveguides. And first of all, instead of optical fiber, I will consider a planar waveguide in which you have a thin dielectric layer of thickness twice A. I have selected this thickness twice A because the diameter of fiber is also twice A. So that later on I can make a one-to-one analogy between what we discussed in the case of planar waveguide and in optical fibers. So right now I am considering a planar waveguide which is nothing but a thin planar dielectric slab of refractive index N1 surrounded by on both the sides by N2. N2 is less than N1. So this is a planar waveguide I am considering. And why I am considering? First of all, planar waveguides are also there. They have, I will come to this point later on. They are being used in practice. And second thing is the solution is very, very simple, analytical, and you can understand all the concepts of solutions of Maxwell's equation in optical waveguide. Later on, when I will come to optical fibers, I will just give you the solutions and I would not again discuss all these concepts. So this planar waveguide we are basically using to understand the various propagation characteristics based through. Now, so this optical waveguide is shown in this figure. So Z is the direction of propagation, and in the X direction, the refractive index varies. So N is a function of X. So if I write down, I have not written here, but if you write down the refractive index distribution, so I would write down N of X is equal to N1 for X less than A, mod X less than A, and is equal to N2 for X mod X greater than A. And I call it symmetric because it is symmetric along in X, right? So these two equations, Maxwell's equation, curl of E is equal to mu 0 del H by del T, and curl of H epsilon del E by del T. These two equations we have to solve. And now we would look for the solutions of this type. Now the field, basically the plane wave solutions. So again, I am considering a plane wave propagating in the Z direction. But remember now that amplitude is no longer a constant because refractive index depends on X. So amplitude also depends on X coordinate, and similarly amplitude of magnetic field. So now the solutions of these two equations would be of this type. So, and by I am denoting X, Y, Z. So it represents actually EX, X component, Y component, and Z component of electric field, and similarly X, Y, Z component of the magnetic field. So let us see if these are the solutions. So once we know the solutions, what we should know about in order to know the electric field and magnetic field, we should know by unmute yourself somewhere, some noise. So, right. So what we have to know? We have to know the X dependence of the amplitudes, that we should know. And second thing, we should know what is beta. In the case of infinitely extended homogeneous medium, we know that beta was nothing but omega by c times refractive index. Now, here you do not have an infinitely extended homogeneous medium. So there are two mediums involved, N1 and N2. So I do not know whether the propagation constant would be omega by c times n1 or omega by c by times n2 or somewhere in between. In fact, I expect that it should be somewhere in between, and that is what you will find it. So beta is to be found out, and x dependence of the amplitudes is to be found out. So what I will do, and remember my system is infinitely extended in the y direction, right? So because the medium is not changing along y direction, so field would also be changing, would not be changing in the y direction. So as we have seen in the case of a infinitely extended homogeneous medium, fields were not depending on x coordinate either, neither I, x, y, or, but z, of course, it is the direction of propagation. So what I should remember, that wherever I get derivative with respect to y, that would be 0. So now let me substitute these solutions in the first equation. So what is my first equation? Equation is del minus mu 0, right? So this is in fact a set of 3 equations, because you can write down the first part x component, you can write down y component, right? So if I substitute electric field here and magnetic field from here, so what you will get? So first component would be del by del y of Ez minus del by del z of Ey. On the right hand side, the x component would be minus mu 0 del by del t hx. Now this equation can be simplified a lot. How? First of all, derivative with respect to y is 0. So this term becomes 0. Second thing, del by del z. Whenever you have to differentiate the field with respect to z, because the z dependence is of the form exponential I minus I beta z, so the quantity would simply be multiplied by minus I beta. And similarly, wherever I would take a derivative with respect to time, the function would be multiplied just by I omega. So if you keep this in mind, then this equation would simplify to this first term is 0, and second term would give you I beta times Ey, and on the right hand side you will get I omega mu 0 hx. So this is the first equation. If you write down the second equation, it is just cyclic order. You can write down del by minus del x of Ez minus I omega mu 0 hy, and this would be simplified. Del by del z would give you just a multiple of minus I beta, so minus I beta Ex minus del by del x of Ez is equal to minus I omega mu 0 hy, right? So third equation, similarly, del E by del x of Ey minus del by del y of Ex is equal to minus I omega mu 0 hz, and here del by del y term is equal to 0. So what, and del by del x, so this term of course is there, and on right hand side. So this is how the first equation one would give you the set of 3 equations. And similarly, equation 2, when you substitute the electric field and magnetic field in the second equation, then you will get these 3 equations. So that is exactly similar fashion. Only thing is E would be replaced by H, and your mu 0 would be replaced by epsilon 0 n square of x, and H would be replaced by E. So you will get similar equations. So these 2 Maxwell's equations give me a set of 6 equations. Now what I will do, I will regroup these equations in a slightly different form. So let me select this equation, this first equation, I beta Ey minus I omega mu 0 hx. Then I take this another equation, del Ey by del x is equal to minus I omega mu 0 hz, and I take equation from 3 equations. Moment. So these first equations, these three equations I have selected. I beta Ey, that is the first equation, second equation, and the third equation. This equation I have taken from these three equations, which is obtained by putting E and H in the second Maxwell's equation, right? So why I have selected these three equations? The important thing to notice is that these three equations, they involve only Hx, Ey, Ez, right? There is no other component. Other three components are not present in these equations. And now, if at the input end I launch electric field in such a way that my electric field is polarized along the y direction, so then I would have only Ey component, right? There would be no x component. And if my input, or let me put the other way, if at the input end my electromagnetic wave is polarized along the x direction, then I would have only x component of electric field and Ey would be 0. And if Ey is equal to 0, from this equation, since I can write down Hx in terms of Ey, then Hx would also be 0. And from this equation, I can write down Hz in terms of a derivative of Ey. And since Ey is equal to 0, Hz would also be equal to 0. So this is a very, very important point. You should appreciate this, that if I launch only X polarized wave, then only these, if I say, moment, X polarized wave, then these components would not be there. On the other hand, if Ey is there, then only Hx and Hz would be there. You can, when I will write down other set, you can look at the other set of equation. For example, I'm saying that suppose there is only Ey. Incident beam is polarized along the y direction, so Ex is equal to 0. Other set of equations are this equation. If Ex is equal to 0, so from here Hy is equal to 0, and if Hy is equal to 0, then from this equation Ez is equal to 0. So this means if your incident beam is polarized along the y direction, since Ex is equal to 0, Hy is equal to 0, and Ez is equal to 0. So these two groups of three equations, they are sort of independent set actually. So they do not interfere with each other. If you incident X polarized light, then you get solutions corresponding to those equations, and if you launch Y polarized light, then you get solution corresponding to these equations. And
Sir, can you
yes.
repeat once more, sir?
See, is it clear that out of these 6 equations, let me write down first these 3 set of equations, right?
Yes.
This does not involve Ex. If my input beam is polarized along the y direction, then I will get only Hx and Hz component, right? And similarly, if you select other 3 components, so let me say this equation, or let me try if I can share this whiteboard, okay? Let me do this experiment, okay? So what I will do, I will come to the and sharing continue. Okay. Are you seeing a whiteboard on your screen?
No, sir.
Okay, let me try again. I will share this screen. What are you seeing now on your screen?
The whiteboard A written on it.
Oh, okay, right. So that is what. So let me write down those three equations now. So first set of equation you have seen, and another set of equation. Let me write down. Another set of equation would be I beta hy is equal to I omega epsilon naught n square of ex, and another value del hy by del x is equal to I omega epsilon naught n square of x ez, and another equation I take from the first three equation, which is minus I beta ex minus del ez by del x is equal to minus I omega mu 0 hy. So one set of equation I had shown you in my slide, and another set of remaining three equations I have written on this whiteboard. Can you see it clearly? So now you can see that in these equations, suppose I would have launched Y polarized light in the system waveguide, then Ex would be 0. If Ex is equal to 0, then from this equation Hy is equal to 0. And if Hy is equal to 0, then from this equation Ez is equal to 0. And if Ez and Hy is equal to 0, then Ex is equal to, of course, is 0, right? So if I launch Y polarized light at the input N, then there will be no Ex, no Ex, no Hy, and no Ez. Ex, Hy, Ez component would be there only when I would launch X polarized light. Is this clear now?
Yes.
Okay, so let me come back to the other slide. Are you seeing that slide now?
No, sir.
Okay, I think I have to come out of this first. So, and I come to this now. What about now? Are you seeing this that slide?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Oh, fine. And you are seeing my face also?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good. So these three equations, I am coming back to the three equations. So I can consider them separately, and those other three equations I can consider separately. Now, another thing to be noticed is that electric field in these equations has only Y component, and that is only the transverse component. When I say transverse, I am referring transverse with respect to the direction of propagation, right? So only transverse component of the electric field is present, and once you find out Ey, you can find out Hx and Hz from these two relations. So these solutions we call as TE mode, transverse electric mode. So there is only transverse component of the electric field. Magnetic field has transverse component Hx as well as longitudinal component Hz. But magnetic field has only a transverse component. So the solutions of these three equations we will call TE modes. And solutions of the other three equations, there the non-zero components are Ex, Hy, and Ez. And you will find that magnetic field has only transverse component of magnetic field. So those solutions we will call as TM mode, transverse magnetic mode. So first difference between the solutions of Maxwell's equation, in this case NA infinitely extended homogeneous medium, is that in homogeneous medium the solutions were of TEM nature, but now here either we have TE modes or we have TM modes, right? So how do we solve these equations? So what we do, Hx and Hy can be put in terms of Ey, and you substitute it here, and it is very simple mathematics that after if you put Hx and Hy in this last equation, then you get one equation satisfied by Ey, and that is d square Ey by dx square plus k naught square n square of x minus beta square Ey is equal to 0. Here k0 is nothing but omega by c. Omega by c, or c is nothing but 1 upon under root epsilon 0 and mu 0, right? So this is the equation we get. We will solve this equation to find out Ey, and then we will find out Hx and Hz from these two relations, and what we will then we will discuss their characteristics. So when I will solve this equation, so what I will do, I will first solve this equation in the core where n is nothing but n1, and then I will solve this in the cladding when n is equal to n2, and I will get certain constants in the solutions, and the value of those constants would be obtained by satisfying the boundary conditions. And boundary conditions, you know, boundary conditions for satisfied by electromagnetic waves along any discontinuity in the refractive index or at any interface is the continuity of tangential components of electric and magnetic field. They are continuous, and normal component, they are not continuous. For example, normal component D vector, normal component of D vector is continuous. So in terms of electric field, it is refractive index squared dielectric constant multiplied by electric field, which is continuous. I hope you are familiar with this, that the tangential component of E and H are continuous, and normal component of B vector and D for Delhi and B for Bombay, D and B vector are continuous. So let me do that thing. So what I will do, this wave equation, I will solve first in the core. Now one thing you should remember, that for guided modes, beta would lie between k0 n1 and k0 n2. Now this may require little bit clarification, so let me use my whiteboard now. So what I will do, I will come to the meeting, and what are you seeing on the screen now?
Still slides are visible, sir. Slides.
No whiteboard?
No, sir.
I think I have to first this white screen on. Okay, what are you seeing now?
Slides.
Is still slide?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That is the problem. So somewhere, let me see. What should I do?
Now it's no, sir.
Just a minute. What about now?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Whiteboard.
Whiteboard, okay. So I would tell you that basically what is beta in terms of wave optics, right? So this is my waveguide, and this is axis.
Can you maximize it?
You are not able to see it? Okay, I will
We
write
can,
down.
we can zoom our, we can zoom our screen too.
Yes, sir. Sir, can you maximize the window?
Okay, maximize the window. Okay, right. So let me maximize the window. What about now? And
Yes, sir.
I need not to show the hide participant. Oh, now it is bigger, right?
Yes, sir.
yes.
So So this is the planar waveguide. Can you see the planar waveguide?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me consider a ray which is making an angle θ1 or theta anyway. So, and this is how it is propagated. Now the ray is propagating in this direction. So this is the refractive index N1. So for this ray right now, this is a homogeneous medium of refractive index N1. So the propagation constant would be omega by c, which I denote by k0 times N1. So this is the propagation constant in this direction. And when I write down the solution, I am solution exponential t minus So actually, if you want to correlate with the ray optics, then beta is nothing but the z component of this propagation vector k0 and 1. So beta is nothing but k0 and 1 cos theta, right? And what are the limits on theta? Theta can lie between 0 and this is cos inverse. We had seen this condition of total internal reflection N2 by N1. So you can find out that beta would always lie between K0 and 2. Moment, have I made a mistake? This is greater than 0 and less than this thing, right? So if I put cos even, right, this is okay. So K0 and 2. No, it should be. If I put this theta is equal to 0, so beta would be k0 n1. Okay, that is one limit, k0 n1. And another limit, if I put theta cos inverse, then this is k0 n2, right? So beta for guided rays would always be less than k0 n1 and more than k0 n2. So do you understand this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now let me come to my those other slides. So this is okay, and then I would be sharing now this. So what are you seeing on the screen now?
Slides.
Okay, page number 13. Okay.
Hello, sir.
Hello, yes.
Sir, what is mean by the X polarized wave?
X polarized wave means the electric field is along the X direction.
Okay.
Okay. So now for guided modes, which I have just shown you for guided rays, beta should lie between these two. So we will keep this in mind and we will find out the solutions of the wave equation.
Excuse me,
And
sir.
by the way, yes.
Sir, shouldn't the inequality in the above equation which you have shown, it should be like
Yeah, in fact, inequality.
the sign is opposite.
Right. There should be inequality. Actually, it should be beta less than equal to k0 n1 and more than k0 n2. Right.
And also, sir, I think you have put the signs opposite because 0 should essentially be the maximum value, because when we put the values of theta in the equation, we are essentially getting k0 n1
Right.
is less than beta and it is less than k0 n2, which should not be there. It should be opposite of that.
Say it again. K0 one limit of the on beta is k0 n1 and another is k0 n2.
So
right?
k0, yes, k0 n1 should be the maximum limit and k0 n2 should be the minimum limit, right?
That is what I am writing here.
But
Beta
when
is
you
more than
but when you use the theta approximation, when you use the maximum and minimum values of theta, shouldn't the sign be opposite? Like 0 should be the maximum limit and cos inverse n2 by n1.
You should remember, if theta increases, cos function decreases. So when you take the value of cos theta, it is the other way around. If I say theta should be less than cos inverse n2 by n1, then cos theta would be more than n2 by n1. right?
Okay, all right, sir. All right, thank you.
In sine function, it is directly related, while in cosine function, it is inverse, right?
Okay.
So should remember that for guided modes, beta, this is the condition. Beta would lie between these two limits, and when beta is less than k2, in more than reflected in the second medium, and the solutions here, they are known as radiation modes. In that case, you will find that the wave is propagating along x direction also. Energy is also, so if you, in that case, if you calculate the x component of the Poynting vector in the cladding, you will find out it, finite. We will discuss this later, but for beta less than k0 and 2, they are radiation modes. Now, when you launch light in optical waveguides, say optical fiber, your source may be spread in a large, very angle may be quite large. So only those rays would be guided through the fiber, which satisfy this total internal reflection condition. So at the input end, you will be launching a large number of rays. So some of the rays would excite guided modes, and some of the rays would couple to the radiation mode. And these radiation modes, because at every refraction some energy is lost, and fiber thickness is very small, so per unit length there would be very large number of refractions and reflections, so this energy get lost very soon. And in optical fiber, generally we are interested in communicating light in terms of kilometers, and these radiation modes, energy coupled to the radiation modes, that is leaked out very fast, actually within a few meters. I mean, at the most, even up to 1 meter, it is quite difficult to propagate. But so guided modes are the modes which reach at the output end. So we will focus more on guided modes. If time permits, we can discuss radiation modes, but we are basically interested in guided modes. So we would be looking solutions for which beta is lying between this limit k0 and 1 and k0 and 2. So what we have to do, we have to solve this equation. And so what I will do, as I told you, I will first write down the core when x less than a. So I put n square is equal to n1 square. And since beta square is less than k0 square n1 square, so this quantity would be positive. So this equation I can write down as d square ey by dx square plus kappa square, where kappa square I am defining k naught square n1 square minus beta square. And this is a very simple equation, harmonic oscillatory equation. It is the solutions are, general solutions are either cosine function or sine function. So general solution would be a linear combination of these two. And similarly, you can find out the solution in the cladding. In the cladding, you can put n square is equal to n2 square. And since beta square is more than k0 square n2 square, so this constant would be, this quantity would be negative. So I would write down as minus gamma square ey. So gamma square is equal to beta square minus k naught square n2 square. Please mute, everybody should mute yourself, right? So solutions would be either exponentially growing or exponentially decaying. But as you know that exponentially growing cannot be a physical solution, because field cannot grow exponentially because light is totally internally reflected, so energy resides in the core. And as we discussed earlier, the field in the cladding is only evanescent field, which decays exponentially. So we should look, the physical solution would be exponential minus gamma mod of x. So on both sides, it would be exponentially decaying. So now, as I told you, the general solution is this equation, right? So just a moment. So, but in a symmetric waveguide case, actually, I can consider this cosine kappa x solution and sine kappa x solution are independent of each other, actually. The reason is that in the wave equation here, if I replace x by minus x, right? Because, or let me come to this equation. This equation. So if I change x minus x, the equation still remains same. So my solution Ey of minus x, because it is satisfying the same equation, so either it can be, either it should be equal to Ey of x, or it should be Ey of minus x. Only then the wave equation would remain same. So because the symmetric nature of the dielectric constant or wave equation in x, your solution would be either symmetric function or anti-symmetric function. Of course, general solution would be a sum of these two solutions, but there is no loss of generality if I consider cosine function separately and sine function separately. Or you can start with the general solution also, no problem, but the discussion becomes much simple if I consider them separately. So what I will do, I will first consider cosine function, and then I will consider sine function, right? And cosine function, they are symmetric functions. So these solutions are known as symmetric modes of the waveguide. And sine kappa x function, they are anti-symmetric mode of the waveguide. So let me first discuss symmetric TE modes. So in the core, it would be cosine function. In the cladding, it would be exponentially decaying function. I have to find out kappa, and I have to find out A and D, and I have to find out gamma. Once I find out Ey, I can certainly find out Hx and Hz. So what I will do to find out these constants, I will use the boundary conditions. Now boundary conditions are tangential component of the electric field is continuous. Now here the tangential component is Ey itself. So Ey has to be continuous at x is equal to plus minus a. And then if you look at Hz is also a tangential component, but you will find that if Ey is continuous, then Hz would always be continuous. And another component is Hx, that is the, no, Hx would be continuous, sorry. If Ey is continuous, then Hx would always, Hx, mu times Hx would again be continuous. But to make Hz component, I have to make the first derivative of Ey to be continuous. So these are the two boundary conditions I will be using. Continuity of Ey and continuity of del Ey by del x. So if you use that, so first equation would give you A cosine kappa A is equal to D exponential minus gamma A. So this gives you a relation between A and D. And second equation, you differentiate this del by del x of Ey in core and cladding and make them equal at x is equal to A. So this equation would give you A kappa sine kappa is equal to minus D gamma exponential minus gamma A. And then D is equal to nothing but A cosine kappa A times exponential gamma A. And if I divide this second equation, equation 5 by equation 4, then I get an equation which is kappa times tan kappa A is equal to gamma. And this equation is known as the eigenvalue equation. How? And by solving this equation, we will obtain the various possible values of kappa or gamma or finally beta. Because kappa, a given related to beta square like kappa is not independent variables. In fact, kappa A square plus gamma A square is nothing but A square kappa square beta square term would cancel into n1 square minus n2 square. And this quantity we denote by V square. So V is nothing but A times K naught under root n1 square minus n2 square. This V parameter is a very, very important quantity. We will come to this point. So for a given waveguide, V is fixed because A is fixed, wavelength of operation of fixed, N1 and N2 are fixed. So for a given waveguide, V is given. And once V is given, then you can write down gamma in terms of kappa in this eigenvalue equation. And so this equation basically is a transcendental equation which involves a variable kappa. So the solutions of this equation would give me the possible values of kappa. And solutions, I mean that those values of kappa for which left hand side is equal to right hand side. So because here it is gamma is also involved, I will try to put it in the form that it involves only one variable, then it would be better. So this equation, as you know that so eigenvalue equation is 10 kappa A is equal to gamma by kappa. And so I write down it like this, under root gamma A square by kappa A square. And because gamma A square you can write down as V square minus kappa A square. So this eigenvalue equation can be recast in this form, equation 6. And now you can see this involves only one variable and kappa A. So by solving this equation, we can find out value of kappa A. Once we know the value of kappa A, we can find out beta. And once we know kappa A, we can find out the field pattern also, because field pattern is A cosine kappa x. And you know gamma, so in the cladding it is exponentially minus gamma times x. So you know the field as well. So important thing is to find out what are the solutions of this equation and how many solutions. Are there one solution? Is there only one solution? Are there multiple solutions? So that's what we will do. And to understand that, actually we have to solve this equation numerically. But right now it is not possible to solve it numerically, but we will have some idea about this solution. But before that, let me also tell you that if I would have started for using antisymmetric solutions, then I would have selected sine kappa x in the core and exponentially decaying function in the cladding. For negative side, the dependence would be exponential gamma x because x is negative, and on the positive side, exponential minus gamma x. So this would be the solution. And now if you apply the boundary condition in a similar fashion, so first of all, you will get a relationship between A and D. And then if you use the second boundary condition, derivative of Ey continuous at the core cladding boundary, then you will get the second equation. And then the eigenvalue equation would become tan kappa is equal to minus kappa by gamma. In the previous case, we had obtained plus gamma by kappa. Now here for antisymmetric mode, we are getting minus kappa by gamma. So again, to in the same table, I will write down it is minus 1 upon V by kappa A square minus 1. So equation 7 is the eigenvalue equation for the antisymmetric mode, and equation 6. So on the right hand side it was positive under root V by kappa A square minus 1. That was for symmetric mode. So these two equations have to be solved numerically to obtain kappa and hence beta for symmetric and antisymmetric modes. But let us have an idea that what are the possible solutions of these equations. So what I will do, on the same graph, I will plot tan kappa A as a function of kappa A as well as right hand sides of both these equations. And wherever these two curves would intersect each other, that would be the solution of this equation. So for a given waveguide, I know the V parameter. So let me say plot tan kappa A first as a function of kappa A. So those curves are denoted by these dotted curves. So in the first quadrant, 0 to pi by 2, this is varies like this. In second quadrant, third quadrant, this tan kappa A would look like this. Then tan kappa A would again look like this. Let me write down the right hand side of the T mode solution, that is under root V by kappa A square minus 1. So when kappa A is equal to 0, then this right hand side of equation C would be infinity. and as kappa A increases, then it would start decreasing, and at the point when kappa A becomes V. So if your waveguide has a V parameter whose values lie between pi and 3 pi by 2, then the right hand side of equation 6 would meet the kappa A axis, x-axis at this point. On the other hand, right hand side of equation 7 minus 1 up by kappa A square. So this is 0. So this right hand side of this second equation would start on the negative side and would look like this, right? And the point of intersection for this graph, that would give you the first TE mode symmetric solution. Then the intersection of this would give you the second solution, T solution. In between you have an anti-symmetric solution. So this is this above graph that reveals a large number of important characteristics of mode. So this we will discuss next time, but we still have 5 minutes. So if you have any doubt, I will clarify that, or if you want me to continue for another 5 minutes, I can continue. So what is your comment?
Sir, one doubt is this.
Bolo.
Sir, if a wave is propagating along y-axis and it is in TM mode, then the non-zero.
Wave is not propagating y direction. I am considering wave propagating along z direction.
So this was the previous one. The previous when we were discussing the non-zero
I
and zero field component.
was saying y polarized, not propagating along y direction.
Right, sir. So if it is y polarized wave and it is for the TM mode, sir, then the non-zero field components would include HY only.
Yeah,
And
HX
and
and HZ also.
HX and HZ would be 0 for the TM mode when it is y polarized.
No. I had just shown you that. Let me show you this slide again. So I will come to the I will first. So come to the meeting. Go to the meeting, right? So. What are you seeing on the screen?
Nothing, sir.
Nothing. Okay. So let me again come. What about now?
So we are able to see the notes only.
Notes only. You are not seeing whiteboard?
No, sir.
That is the problem. Let me come again. So
now we are able to see, sir.
Okay, fine. So what I had for TM modes, the 3 equations are like this. Let me. Okay. Is it clear?
Yes.
So it contains EX, EZ, and HY. So if EX is non-zero, HY would be non-zero. And if EX and HY are non-zero, then EZ is also non-zero.
So
TM modes would consist these 3 components: EX, HY, HZ.
Right, sir. That was the only thing, sir.
Or bolo bhai, any other doubt?
Sir.
Yes.
I wanted to ask that what is physical significance of turning point? Like, what do we mean by this? That waves return or what?
That when it's in a graded index media, when a ray starts, because of inhomogeneity in the medium, the ray start bending towards the axis, and at a certain point, this becomes basically the. So it reflects back, start turning. So let me. Are you seeing the whiteboard?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I can explain you here. So So this is the graded index media, right? So refractive index is decreasing in this side. So a plane wavefront is incident, right? No, let me consider it this way. So right, this start like this. Right now the wavefront is like this. Then it start bending and this comes at the turning point. Now the wavefront becomes like this. So this portion, the velocity of propagation would be, suppose this is nx nx or a turning point nt. So that would be propagating with omega, say c by n t, let me say. But this portion, that would be traveling slower because the refractive index is higher here. So as this wavefront propagates further, then this would bend like this, and then this will turn like this, and then again it will go like this. So this is how it will propagate. So that is the meaning. At turning point, the wavefront is a plane perpendicular to the z direction, right?
Okay, sir.
Or
So,
bolo.
when we say that theta is decreasing, when theta is zero, then
at turning point, theta is equal to 0. So the wavefront is perpendicular to z axis.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you, sir.
Sir, a small clarification.
Bolo.
Sir, so can we assume that the wavefront inside this is plane initially, sir, again after
Wavefront, this ray at, for example, at this point, I do not know exactly, the wavefront would be something curved, but at this point, this is the perpendicular direction to the wavefront. So in fact, let me, if I, for example, if the wavefront would have been initially plane wavefront, then it would be like this, and the ray would travel like this. So you can see at this point the wavefront is like this. It is not plane wavefront, it is curved wavefront. Only at this point for this ray, this is like this.
and again it will become curved.
And then it will again become curved. But it is much more complicated. Actually, I cannot consider one ray. So one ray is not really an exact description. So it is very complicated. But you can understand it like this. I had derived the ray equation, and that gives exactly sinusoidal solution. But you can understand it like this. Any other question?
Yes, sir. Sir, in one question I was solving, I was calculating a ray path, and for that the ray was incident at some value like x naught when parallel to z axis.
Parallel to z axis. Okay.
So for that I found the ray path as a cosine function. I thought it should be parallel to z axis, but it comes out to be cosine function. I cannot feel that result.
Why you feel that this ray should go like this?
Yes, sir.
That I had discussed in one of the class, that this is a common confusion. So that is that confusion arises. Why everybody should mute except one person. There is a lot of noise from other students. Hello. So actually, I had told in the class that there is no thing like a single ray. It will not propagate like this. That is what I am spending the whole time to explain to you and drawing the ray equation. That it is, when you say the ray is launched like this, it is a ray part of this wavefront. And when this whole wavefront will propagate, the ray direction will be decided. Right? Somewhere there is noise. So this is the explanation. Are you satisfied now?
Yes, sir.
Any other question?
means actually beam of one more doubt, sir.
हाँ बोलो बोलो.
Sir, sir, in pulse broadening, we are studying in a pulse broadening that we apply a pulse, but in what is mean by that pulse in that optical sensor? Because in electrical sense, we know that pulse is either it's a magnitude of 5 volt current. Current may be either 5 ampere something. But what is mean by pulse in optical sensor?
What is mean by pulse width?
What is mean by pulse in optical sense? That what is its magnitude in respect to that?
Okay. Suppose I have a laser source, okay, and beam is coming continuously, okay. I can pass it through a chopper, and a chopper has a hole, and it is continuously rotating. So whenever this hole will come in front of the laser beam, the light will come out, otherwise it will stop. It should be obvious that you will have a pulses like this, rectangular pulses. So that is mean by pulses. There are ways how you can generate Gaussian pulses, any type of pulses. Is that what your question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. फैजल तुम्हारे यहाँ से ही शोर आ रहा है भाई बहुत.
Yes, sir.
चलो और बोलो भाई, any other difficulty? If there is no other difficulty, so we will leave the class and we will meet tomorrow, right? I will upload this and go through it carefully. Tomorrow I would not be having any quiz, but maybe Friday or Saturday. I will inform you, right? Okay.
So, sir, hello. Hello, sir.
Sir has left.
Sir has left.
Actually, I want to ask that today's lecture will also include in the exam or quiz. If tomorrow will be no quiz.
You can ask that tomorrow.
Yeah, okay.
Doesn't anyone feel that the lectures are going like, we are not getting hold of the lectures, or we are losing track? Or is that me only?